They say it's all about, who not or who, not how, but it's surrounding yourself with the right people who are really educated and know the market and know the players in the market. That's been, just amazing help in my growth.
Welcome to the Wild West Real Estate Podcast. And now, here's your host, Mark Hinteman.
Today's guest was a single-family investor who moved into multifamily, building a portfolio of workforce housing in the Midwest while maintaining a W-2 job in medical sales. I'd like to welcome Rob MacSwan.
Hey, Mark. Glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you.
Good to have you. I'm excited to jump into our conversation, hear about your story. So tell me. Let me see. You're in the Midwest.
Yep. Lexington, Kentucky, from the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, went to school down in Virginia and stuck around there for a little bit, DC and Richmond, Virginia, and then moved to Lexington, Kentucky a few years ago to be closer to wife's family. So it's been good transition. Better real estate deals out here.
In Kentucky. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Better than Virginia?
Yeah. So I was in Richmond, Virginia. And that's kind of where I started with some single family stuff in kind of pretty challenging areas. So I kind of learned my lesson pretty quick that the numbers on the paper don't always correlate to real world because you actually have to have people pay you. And then multifamily was really, the numbers didn't work really in that area that well. But luckily when we moved to Lexington right away, I saw that, hey, there's a lot of value here. There was a lot of opportunity. So worked out for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Virginia was a much more challenging market than Kentucky.
Yeah, well, at least in the Richmond, Virginia area, again, you could make some money at the very low end of the spectrum. First started out with these tiny little single family homes in rough areas. You could buy a house for $60,000 and rent it for $850. So that sounds amazing. But again, half the time people didn't pay you and we're giving you some sob story. I had people, running hoses from my house to their house to, fill their bathtubs. There was always some kind of crazy drama going on. So I did okay with those. I mean, I certainly, made a little money, but.
So it sounds like the multifamily in Virginia was very management intensive.
Yeah, well, it was a blend of me still being new and not really being very well networked. I think into some of the multifamily deals, I probably could have done better, but I was just pretty much a newbie and I could get into the single family space without too much trouble. But it seemed the multifamily space was extremely crowded and competitive. And, I just was probably, had I stuck around a little longer, it might have been a little better. But it was quite night and day when I moved to Kentucky. There was a lot more opportunity and wasn't too hard to find. Kind of this was back in 2018, 2019. So I was pretty excited to get rolling. I just rolled right into multifamily. Once I found here, it was, there was a decent amount of supply at good prices. I was like, okay, well, let's step up to multifamily and put the single family kind of on the back burner for the time being.
And it's nice when you make that step up is that you could put someone in the building that's a resident manager and they can deal with, hopefully at least 50% of all the issues so that you're not getting calls all day long. Right?
Yes. I do not have the mindset to manage a property. So property management for me all the way. I think the value of it is it's worth every penny to me. Not all property managers are as good as others, but overall I've had a pretty good experience and it's definitely the way to go. And for me anyway.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, even the bad property managers that I've had, they buffer you against so much just headaches and garbage and stuff that would just bog you down and exhaust you. So they're really a necessary piece in my mind, but some of them are better than others. So some of them can save you a lot of time, yet still run your building poorly. So
absolutely, because I don't know about you, Mark. I wasn't trying to buy another job. I was trying to buy these properties so I could have passive income, build wealth, cash flow appreciation. I was not looking to fix toilets and meet people at 8 p.m. on a Saturday night to show a unit or something like that and not have them show up. So
right. And so you were maintaining a W-2 job at this point?
Yeah. So I've always been a W-2 employee. I'm still a W-2 employee in medical sales.
Are? Okay.
I'm working on that. My goal is definitely to replace that income at some point. Now that doesn't necessarily mean I'd, to quit the day I did that, but just, I'm in a sales position. It's competitive. It's stressful. So I would just love to work because I want to work. And that's kind of what I'm working towards with expanding my portfolio. But yeah, I have a, good old Joe job, but definitely, that's why I'm not trying to add additional work to myself on top of that.
Okay. Did you physically move to Kentucky, or
Yes.
did you just start to invest there? You moved there?
Nope. Moved there. My wife grew up in the Kentucky area, and we had a couple kids, and we didn't really have any family around in Virginia. So there was an opportunity with my employer at the time to relocate. So we just moved out here to be closer to family. It wasn't, for an investment reason or anything like that. It just was pure family kind of personal reasons. And, it worked out in both fronts as far as a great place to live, and got lots of family around to support us. Had a pretty good run over the last 3+ years expanding in multifamily.
So it turned out to be a fruitful market in terms of multifamily as well, right?
Yeah. And honestly, I hear this from a lot of different people, but kind of the Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati kind of, I guess it's kind of like a triangle area. It's pretty good and fairly well known nationally that there's some good value still to be had in kind of Southern Ohio and Kentucky when you're talking about cash flow opportunities, in kind of workforce housing kind of type of multifamily. So I've lucked out. And then I got really lucky when I moved here. My agent, his name's Will Campbell. He's just, it's pretty much luck that I just kind of found him through a buddy of mine that owned a few multifamily properties. And, they say it's all about, who not, or who, not how. I just read that book actually, but it's surrounding yourself with the right people who are really educated and know the market and know the players in the market. That's been, just amazing help in my growth.
Yeah. And this guy, I think, did you call him Will? Is
Will,
he a broker? Is he a broker?
Yeah, he's a broker, and he's actually a broker and an appraiser. So, which is a great, I didn't know people did that. I thought you were an appraiser or a broker, but so he brings extra value in identifying kind of what these places cost. Like he can see something pop up on the market or hear about an off-market deal. And, with his background, he knows right away where the value is because he's an appraiser, right? He can just kind of look at the numbers. He knows the market. He knows the geography, and he can say, hey, this is one we gotta attack. This is worth it. Just great value there.
Cool. That's smart on his end to become an appraiser because you've probably seen that there's brokers that specialize in investment real estate and they work with investors almost exclusively. And so it sounds like that's who you've got. And the fact that he's got an appraiser, his appraiser license is a big help.
Oh yeah. And again, he's sure, you know this too, Mark, that, 99% of agents, they just kind of show houses, single family stuff. And, maybe they could help you buy something here and there, but identifying someone who really has a focus on multifamily and investment properties, which he is, he doesn't do too much single family stuff. That's your expert in the field. Those are your eyes out there when you're not looking, and to find those off market deals and know the people in town that own the multifamily properties. So definitely an invaluable part of my success is connecting with people like him.
That sounds good. Yeah, he did his homework and positioned himself to be that guy, which is the expert to be available to investors. How did you find him?
Again, it was kind of luck. It's funny. My brother-in-law, he's a few years younger than me. I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he was an ambitious young guy. And I knew he would appreciate the book. He wasn't just like me. He kind of hadn't really thought about real estate particularly or anything like that. But so after I read it, I gave him the book, And he just like the stories you hear, all of a sudden he was like, I'm in.
Yeah. So you met your team. Who else do you have on your team? You've got a broker. You've got.
Yep. So again, can't. I don't want to make this the Will Campbell agent call, but honestly, he connected me with a great insurance agent that not just your typical guy that like he's going to dig, he's going to find you the deals, really work closely with him. Even the guy I use for my inspections, I use to say he's top notch, just experts in the field. That it's kind of what the term rock stars hang out with rock stars,
Okay, sure.
You find, I'm going to give that. I think that's a David Green comment from Bigger Pockets. I think I stole that from him, but yeah, just, if you find the right people, they're going to connect you with, the guy that does great with inspections, great people for insurance. And really the pivotal one, which has been a game changer, connecting with to get financing. Like,
yeah,
right now, what's that?
A broker?
No, my broker helped me with this local bank. When it needed financing, when I started, buying stuff that, bigger than 4 units and you can't use, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac anymore. I got an introduction to a local bank. And what's great about local banks is you're not calling 1-800, I need a loan. Like you get connected with the people that make the decisions, like the president of the bank. And now I've done a couple of deals with them. They were great to work with. And I literally have the president of the bank, I can text them, call them whenever I want. If I have an idea or I'm trying to spitball something in my head, or I'm thinking about a refinance, or I'm looking at a property and I just have kind of banking finance questions, I just call him and, uses his expertise and pick his brain. So they have been pivotal in, financing, these deals. And they do. I feel lucky. Sometimes people say, well, what's that bank like to work with? Or, how much money you have to put down? I mean, it's almost hard to find someone else that can compete. So,
yeah. If you could build a relationship with a good bank, and they're motivated to do that too. They like to lend to dependable investors. So if you can, establish that connection.
And I will say this, Mark, a lot of people get into real estate because, they want to get out of their W-2 and that's definitely something I'm interested in. But the president of the bank, Howard, will always say, like, I have a very nice, healthy income. And he always says, hey, don't be in a rush to quit your job.
Yeah, great point. I have never heard someone on a podcast say that the president of the bank told you that, don't be in a rush to quit your W-2 job because that helps you get favorable treatment.
Absolutely.
Myself, I have a W-2, technically a W-2. Actually, I'm an incorporated, but I have another source of income that's very dependable, the writing side of it. And it does grant me favorable terms and strong, I'm a strong borrower because you have that. So he's coming from an informed perspective to tell you, like, everybody seems to want to quit their day job, their W-2 job, but there's benefits to hanging on to it for a little bit.
Yeah. And of course, there's other ways to get money and banks will still work with you, but the barriers tend to get a little bigger when, you don't have a steady kind of income. So that was something I'll think about when I'm ready to pull the plug on my W-2 job. I'll make sure I either get something under, buy something right before then, or I just know that I'm going to have to be prepared, that could be something that a challenge I face.
Yeah. Track record at that point, when you do quit your W-2 job. Yeah. Track record is a big thing that they look at and just reserves that you have. And you got to show them, you got to make up for the lack of a W-2, which a lot of investors are able to navigate, but it definitely is easier if you've got a nice salary from a W-2 job.
Absolutely.
Cool. So is that kind of bring you up to the present where you are at this point?
Yeah. So, 3+ years in Kentucky, dealing with COVID and everything like that, I put together about 61 units, 6 different properties. My biggest was a 24 unit I bought back in October. So I kind of keep moving up, started with 4, bought another 4, then a 5, then an 8, then a 16, and then bought the 24 back in October. I actually have my 16 unit under contract right now to sell. Not something I was really interested in selling, but you have the prices right now are kind of insane. I don't know if those are going to start to kind of shallow out here in the near future, but I just got an offer that I just thought was kind of more than I thought I could get. So we'll see. It's supposed to close in a few weeks. Again, I'd never thought I could pretty much double my money in less than 2 years. So I'm pretty excited about that, but it is kind of bittersweet, I guess.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And how do you structure these deals? Is this all your own money or do you have partners?
Yeah. So what's great is I've done this all on my own. So I've used my own money and I don't have to answer to anybody. And, I can make all the decisions myself. So that's like the good side, Mark. The bad side is, you eventually run out of your own money, as you know. I don't make that much money that I can just continue to buy 24 unit buildings and 16 unit buildings out of my own checking account. So, I'm considering, partnering, with somebody or working with investors. I just haven't gotten there yet. Part of me is kind of torn with, hey, I could buy $1 million property with you, right, and split the profits, or I could just buy a $500,000 property by myself. Why wouldn't I just kind of keep it on my own? So I guess I'm trying to find people where to partner with, where they're adding extra value, that I could just kind of do on my own. So I'm considering doing that as I move forward. But yeah, right now it's all my own stuff.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, I think there's a lot to be said for building your own portfolio, owning it 100% and learning all aspects of it. You just get an invaluable experience doing that. And then, you can always, and it makes you more attractive to, money partners. If you've been, acquiring, renovating and operating, multiple businesses, multiple properties of different sizes, and you've got, a good track record of doing that, they're going to want to give you money in the future.
Yeah, it's good. To your point. Yeah. I've earned, where I can go, maybe ask somebody for money, or I can appeal to people that would want to partner with me because I do have the track record and I have done it on my own. I can't say, hey, I use someone else's money. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just started out on this just on my own, kind of the lone wolf mentality, but I have a lot of smart people. A lot of smart people out there telling, you go fast on your own, but you go far with other people, something like that. So a lot of smart, rich people are telling me I should consider partnering up or expanding, working with others. So we'll see how that goes. That's maybe a development thing that I'm going to work on, here in the near future.
Yeah, that's great. Do you expect to slow down given the economy? We're suddenly in questionable territory. Who knows?
Yeah. So that's kind of the question of the day. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not smarter than anybody else, if it's actually the opposite, but just if my gut just tells me that things are I don't think, things are going to go completely nuts and crash, but I do think we're kind of hitting a peak. That's one of the reasons I decided to sell one of my properties, not because I needed to. I'm not like cash strapped. I just thought, hey, this is a good time to exit. The number's really attractive. So I might pull a little money out of the table and, sit for a little bit, see how things go. Now, granted, Mark, if my agent calls me tomorrow and I see a property and the numbers look good, I'm going to buy it. But I haven't really seen that lately. I'm getting beat out on any deal I've offered on. I haven't bought anything since October, and I probably put in offers on, 5 or 6 different properties. I mean, it's crazy. These agents are basically saying, no inspection, all cash. And, I could consider paying cash, use a hard money lender, but I'm not going to buy something without inspecting it. I mean,
right.
Unless the discount was so heavy that it kind of accounts for that risk of like, okay, well, right. It's so cheap, even if there's something wrong, like I can live with it. But
right.
So I'm just not really seeing anything out there to buy. So long answer to your question is, I don't see myself really buying anything in the next 4 to 6 months, but I'm not saying I wouldn't, I guess. So,
cool.
But I do think it's going to there's going to be a little more opportunity here. I'm thinking in the next 6-12 months to maybe, have these numbers not be so insane.
Yeah. Something's got to give at this point.
Yeah.
Is there a failure or mistake that you made early on that you found is key to your success?
There's a couple, I guess, that were along the way. And I basically learned it in the single family houses. And fortunately, they were cheap and they were easy to get rid of. But kind of like I spoke to before, just because the numbers look good, there's a reason the numbers look, if they look kind of like, oh my God, that's like just a killer deal. I'm not saying there's not killer deals out there. I'm just saying it's not going to be as good as it looks. So when you're getting those screaming, oh my God, the cash flow is insane. And, it's just kind of just understand there's other things outside of that piece of paper you're looking at that might make it not such an appealing deal. And just kind of consider those things. Consider the demographics, consider who's renting from you, that kind of thing. So I kind of learned cheap doesn't mean valuable is more important than cheap, right? If you can buy a really good property and make, a nice return on it, it's better than buying a cheap property and making an even better return. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Or a hypothetical better return, but then, you could get eaten alive by the costs and headaches.
Exactly. So there's a reason that difference between price and rent is so big, because there's a lot of headaches in there, or else everyone would be buying those and the prices would go through the roof. So that's one. And then I learned a recent lesson when I bought this 24 units. I kind of cheaped out on the inspection. You're talking about bigger buildings, the inspection costs can be pretty considerable. It's not like it's $1,200 or it's $600. It can be several $1,000s for these larger properties. So I kind of had the idea of, hey, I'm just going to have my inspector do kind of more of a cursory look around, not, picking, everything apart in the entire building. Kind of just, hey, let's look at the big stuff. If there's anything really scary, if not, let's not really worry about it. And, thinking I'd save myself, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And it turns out, there was more. I should have spent the extra $3,000 or $4,000, because once we bought it and got in there was a lot of issues that kind of added up. So in hindsight, I would have just paid the full boat for the inspection, try to shave off a few $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Who do you have on your team?
You mean like actual names of folks?
No, just who's on your, do you have partner? So you have your banker that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone else that you are your go-to people?
So in addition to my banker and my agent, I, work with a few different property management teams. One of them I inherited when I bought a property, and I just didn't want to rock the boat until they kind of proved themselves not worthy. And they've done a pretty good job. And two more property managers I use, just because one company doesn't work in another location. So I kind of have three, not by design, but just kind of how it worked out. And so they're obviously my partners in making sure the properties are run smoothly and keeping costs down and making sure we're putting in good tenants there. So between the property manager, my bank, my agent, and my insurance guy, I have a pretty strong team, and they work pretty hard for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's a trait that you possess that has served you best both in real estate and in life?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think, I'm not one of those people. Actually, I just had a fire in one of my units like 2 weeks ago. Everyone's fine, everyone's safe. The place didn't burn down, but I can roll the punches. Like a lot of people, that might set them back, or they'd be freaking out about that for months and say, hey, I'm out of this real estate game. But from day one, I just was able to kind of just roll with it and just know that, there's going to be issues. There's going to be stuff that pops up, and it's not going to be pretty, but you got to kind of look at the bigger picture. So I think I do a pretty good job not getting caught up in the day-to-day, crap that can kind of happen sometimes.
Right. Yeah. You need to be able to weather all that stuff and not let it set you back.
And then I would say on top of that, it's just, I'm a person that I take action. If I want to do something, I'm going to find a way to do it. I'm not going to, spend 10 years reading a book and asking every person on earth what the perfect answer or scenario is.
Right.
I'm going to get enough information that I know that I'm not going to do something completely stupid, and then move forward and take action, which I think is the key to kind of growing and expanding and move forward.
Yep. If you make mistakes, that's all right. At some point you have to act. I like that.
Yes. And you learn from your mistakes, right? You can't get better in the world. I tell my kids this all the time. Every time they mess up, I'm like, great job. You just learn how to get better.
Right.
And hopefully you won't do it again.
You won't forget this. Right.
Yes.
The more pain there is, the more unforgettable the lesson will be.
Absolutely.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you. We're gonna end with like a question round.
Okay.
If you don't mind. And you're probably
Sure,
unprepared, but that's probably even better.
Okay.
So here we go. The book you've recommended most over the past year.
I'm going to go with Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. It's a book about stoicism.
Yeah. Stoicism book. Cool.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah.
I read his morning blogs in my
Yes, as do I. He has good stuff. It's hard to live up to some of those
right.
but it's good good things to think about.
What was your favorite movie when you were 15?
Wall Street. I don't know if you ever
Street.
saw that one. Michael Douglas, Charlie Sheen.
Totally.
I just love that movie. It was just like
giant cell phones.
Yeah, exactly. Giant cell phones. I don't know. I just love maybe just growing up, I love that like the business, the money, it just seemed so cool. Those guys are awesome. I'm still quoting that movie and people were like, what are you talking about? Movie like, from 1987 or something.
Yeah.
So.
Aside from real estate, one thing you could spend all day talking about.
Sadly, if it's not real estate, it's some sort of entrepreneurial like thing, business, trying to understand people, like how to, like the stoicism, like how to make my mind work harder, better, kind of just trying to figure out a way to have a superpower. I mean, I love like talking to stuff like that. That's why I like podcasts, like yours and listen to other people's. It's not only is it just the content, but it's like the ideas behind it and the energy and just being an action-oriented person that's just not going to sit around and let life just kind of go by them. Being
growth-oriented. Yeah. Self-improvement.
Yep.
Is there a high school friend you'd like to say hello to?
High school friend, I'd like to say hello to Todd Baldwin. He was my best man. We'd known each other since we were in junior high. Went to college together, lived in DC together. So he's my buddy. I mean, there's plenty of guys, but he's kind of like my soulmate growing up. And he was a good guy that helped me through a lot of stuff. So, hey, Todd, what's up?
Awesome. Yeah, it's good to stay in touch with those people.
Yeah. Good question, Mark. I like that one, Mark. That's definitely a different one. So good for you for that.
And lastly, when are you happiest?
I'm happiest, when I'm with my family, especially those days where, I feel like I have a very good, fulfilled life where I have freedom. And I just feel really lucky when I'm just hanging out with my family. And, we're very lucky. We don't want for much. We live in a safe area, where everyone's healthy. So just being with my kids and my family and talking and laughing and just kind of boring, mundane stuff. But, I think I have it pretty good and I don't take that for granted.
That's great. I like that. Yeah. Good answer. Yeah. Finally, how can listeners reach out to you?
I'm pretty much an open book. I'm not huge on the social media quite yet. So, they can reach out to me. My Hotmail, don't bust my balls, Mark, for still having a Hotmail. I am that old, but it's R.MacSwan at Hotmail, RMACSWAN at Hotmail. I'm always willing to help people. I mean, I'm not like some big whale, but I certainly know a decent amount, out there in the world and people getting started or, own, 1 to 60 properties and, just always happy to help people and meet people. And it's, again, who, not how. That's my new thing. Again, I just read that book. Maybe that's the one I'm recommending. I've already recommended it twice on your show. So maybe that's who, not how. If you don't know that one, Mark, it's all about, how you can get a lot farther in life with connecting with people and knowing the people that can help you as opposed to trying to figure it out all on your own. So
yeah, great. I love it. Well, Thank you for coming on. You got a lot of good stuff, a lot of good insights.
Yep.
And provide some value for the audience.
Yeah, well, it's my pleasure, Mark. Please have me back on podcast number 10,000 because I know you're big and you're blowing up. So I'd love to come back.
All right. I love it.
All right.
Thanks, Rob.
Mark.
Appreciate it. Have a good one. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for the Wild West Real Estate Show. If you like what we're attempting to do here, please subscribe so we can continue sharing these with you. And if you want to check out our website, it's quantumcapitalinc.com. You'll find podcast episodes as well as multifamily properties we're looking at and how you could potentially participate. Look forward to seeing you guys soon on the Wild West Real Estate Show.